When we talk about Shirley Temple, many people's memories flood with the image of a child star brimming with energy, bringing joy and optimism to audiences worldwide. That little girl was the embodiment of the American dream, a symbol of success, born from talent and effort. However, few stopped to consider the price a child had to pay when thrust into the brutal machinery of Hollywood. Shirley Temple's life wasn't just about applause and stage lights. It also held burdens, losses, and even hidden pains that were concealed for years. Now is the time for us to look back not just at Shirley Temple the star, but at Shirley Temple, a human being with deep wounds, a stolen childhood. Looking at those black and white films, few could imagine how much the lively, innocent Shirley Temple on screen suffered from a stolen childhood. Childhood should be carefree days of playing, learning, and exploring the world around you. But for Shirley, it was a long, endless series of packed work schedules, relentless rehearsals, and the invisible pressure of fame. Shirley Temple had no concept of a weekend off or afternoons spent playing with peers her own age. Instead, her schedule was meticulously planned down to the minute. From the early morning, when other children were still asleep, Shirley had to wake up to do her makeup, get her hair done, and prepare for a filming day that lasted dozens of hours. Scenes required professionalism and genuine emotion that sometimes exceeded a child's endurance. There were times when she had to repeat a take dozens of times under the strict supervision of the director and crew. The pressure to play her part perfectly, to always maintain a smile and optimism, even when tired or feeling wronged, gradually eroded Shirley's inherent innocence. Furthermore, the lack of privacy was another heavy burden on the young girl. Shirley's life was an open book to the public. Every activity, from her studies and meals to the smallest details of her personal life, could become fodder for the press and public opinion. She lived in a golden cage where fame brought material wealth, but stripped her of the right to be herself, the right to make mistakes and learn like a normal child. Every step, every word was carefully considered not by a child, but by her management team and parents, who had early on seen the golden potential in their little daughter. This was a silent tragedy. She was loved by the whole world, but was deprived of the right to live a normal private life. It wasn't just a trade-off, but a sacrifice too great for the spotlight. The invisible pain of exploitation. When exploring the life of Shirley Temple, it's impossible not to address the sensitive yet haunting aspect of the exploitation and abuse she faced, even if it wasn't always overtly apparent. This isn't just a story about money. It's about suffocating control and deep psychological wounds that a child couldn't understand or fight against. Financial pressure was an enormous burden placed on Shirley from an age too young for her to comprehend. She wasn't just an actress. She was her family's money-making machine during the Great Depression. Shirley's enormous salary saved her family from destitution, but that also meant she had to work tirelessly, her labor and talent exploited to their fullest. Every successful film brought not only fame to Shirley, but also served as the livelihood for the adults around her. The pressure to maintain that income stream turned her into a tool rather than being seen as a child who needed protection and nurturing. Furthermore, her parents' control over Shirley was a double-edged sword. Her mother, Gertrude Temple, played a pivotal role in her daughter's career, from shaping her image and selecting scripts to supervising every gesture on set. While on one hand, this helped protect Shirley from some of Hollywood's darker sides, on the other, it also turned her into a puppet in the hands of adults. Shirley had no say in crucial decisions about her career or her life. Everything was prearranged, from her costumes to every line of dialogue, every emotion she had to express. This absolute control stripped Shirley of her autonomy and the right to develop her own personality, turning her into a perfect product of the entertainment industry. Moreover, the harsh working environment of 1930s Hollywood also harbored many negative experiences. Although Shirley was relatively well protected compared to many other child stars, she still had to contend with unreasonably long working hours, the strictness of some directors, or the pressure of competing in an industry rife with turnover. In fact, in her autobiography, Shirley mentioned instances of being locked in a dark room as punishment when she didn't obey. Such seemingly minor punishments, when repeated and inflicted upon a tender young soul, could leave lasting psychological scars, contributing to the invisible pain behind the radiant smile of America's darling. The inner struggle. Beneath the veneer of a perfect child, star always cheerful and full of energy, Shirley Temple wrestled with a chaunt yet persistent inner struggle. Perhaps the greatest pain was the loss of her personal identity. The little girl Shirley, a child with her own dreams and thoughts, seemed to be swallowed by the Shirley Temple image created by the public and the film industry. She was defined by her curly hair, radiant smile, and skillful singing and dancing rather than by her true self. Shirley lived in a world where the line between reality and illusion blurred. As she grew up, she faced a difficult question. Who was she when she was no longer a child prodigy? The pressure to maintain an innocent, adorable image, even as she entered adolescence and adulthood, was an enormous psychological burden. The public wanted Shirley to remain the lovable little girl she once was, and any change was scrutinized and criticized. This made it difficult for her to develop naturally to find her own voice and path. She had to play an outdated character, which gradually eroded her self-confidence and sense of self-worth. Moreover, despite constantly being surrounded by her crew parents and adoring fans, Shirley often experienced profound loneliness. She didn't have peers with whom to share secrets, fears, or simply the mischievous antics of childhood. Her relationships with those around her often revolved around work and career, rather than carefree friendships. Fame created an invisible wall between Shirley and the outside world, making her an admired figure, but also an isolated one. The difficulty of transitioning from child star to adult was a harsh challenge that very few child prodigies could overcome smoothly, and Shirley was no exception. As her body grew and her voice changed, the America's sweetheart image no longer fit. Roles gradually became limited, and her acting career began to stall. This transitional period was fraught with insecurity, doubt, and public rejection. Shirley had to face the truth that the spotlight could fade at any moment, and she had to find a new path, a new identity for herself, free from the enormous shadow of Shirley Temple. This was an arduous journey requiring extraordinary resilience to overcome past wounds and forge a completely different future. Scars and the path to rebirth. The silent pains and inner struggles that Shirley Temple endured from childhood were not merely sad memories. They left deep scars on her soul. These scars, though invisible to the naked eye, subtly shaped Shirley's life and her decisions as she grew up, especially in her personal relationships. Challenges in marriage and love were among the clearest consequences of a stolen childhood. Shirley's first marriage, at age 17, was to John Agar Jr., a contemporary actor. This marriage ended quickly, after only a few years, leaving Shirley heartbroken and disappointed. Perhaps being deprived of a normal childhood, not learning how to build relationships based on trust and mutual understanding from simple adolescent experiences made it difficult for her to cope with the complexities of love and marriage. A child who grew up in the spotlight, always protected and controlled, might find it hard to easily open her heart and place absolute trust in others. The fear of being hurt, exploited, or simply not knowing how to express true emotions might have become an invisible barrier, making her struggle to find genuine happiness. It wasn't until later, when she married Charles Alden Black, that Shirley truly found peace. However, the journey to that happiness was not easy, as the wounds from the past were always present, requiring her to work hard to heal and learn to trust. Finding a life partner who understood and accepted the real Shirley, beyond the shadow of the child prodigy she once was a long and tearful journey. But Shirley Temple was not one to easily succumb. It was precisely the scars from her past that compelled her to make a bold decision, a turning point that completely transformed her life, abandoning the spotlight. This was not just a career decision, but an act of liberating herself from the golden cage of fame. Shirley realized that true happiness lay not in being admired by millions, but in living an authentic, meaningful life. She courageously walked away from the limelight that had once been everything to her, seeking peace and a new identity. Shirley's pivot to diplomacy and politics is a powerful testament to her resilient spirit and strong will. From a protected Hollywood girl, Shirley became a talented diplomat, a U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. She proved that she was not just a beautiful face and acting talent, but also a sharp intellect and a compassionate soul. This was where she truly found a new purpose in life, where her painful past experiences were transformed into strength, compassion, and understanding meet for others. She used her voice not to sing and dance, but to fight for justice, for peace, for a better world. Later, life and passing. As the vibrant years of her diplomatic career drew to a close, Shirley Temple Black returned to a more private life. But her mark remained indelible. She continued to be a role model of resilience and courage, particularly when facing health challenges. In 1972, Shirley publicly revealed that she had undergone a mastectomy for breast cancer, in an era when breast cancer was still a taboo subject. Rarely spoken of, Shirley bravely broke the silence. She held a press conference from her hospital bed, fearlessly sharing her story, urging women to get regular health checkups and not hesitate to seek medical help. This act created an unprecedented wave of awareness, empowering millions of women worldwide to bravely confront their illness, transforming personal pain into inspiration and hope for the community. Shirley's final years were a period where she enjoyed peace with her family. After her beloved husband, Charles Alden Black, passed away in 2005 following 55 years of happy marriage, Shirley continued to live a simple life at her home in Woodside, California. She found joy in the embrace of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, succeeding generations who witnessed her not just as a star or a talented diplomat, but as a devoted mother and grandmother. Though the spotlight had long faded, the warmth of her family compensated for the emotional deprivations of her childhood. She constantly reminded everyone of the importance of home and genuine relationships, things she had sacrificed so much for when she was young. On February 10, 2014, Shirley Temple Black drew her last breath at the age of 85, passing away peacefully in her own home, surrounded by the loving embrace of her family and close ones. The cause of death was determined to be chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Her passing was a great loss, not only for her loved ones, but also for the entire world, where she left an indelible mark. The announcement of Shirley's death touched the hearts of millions, reminding them of an extraordinary life lived transcending destiny to live fully and contribute selflessly. She was not just a star, but a great soul, forever America's darling, in humanity's memory not for her curly locks or dance moves, but for her unwavering will and compassionate heart. Shirley Temple's life, with its dramatic twists and spectacular transformations, leaves behind a timeless legacy. It is not just the story of a great child star, but also a poignant reminder of the price of fame for children. Shirley opened up an important dialogue about protecting child stars in the entertainment industry, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing children's mental health and holistic development, rather than focusing solely on profit. Shirley Temple is proof that behind every smile on screen, there can be an ocean of tears, a solitary journey of self-discovery. Shirley Temple is not just America's darling of the past, but also a symbol of resilience, a warning, and a source of inspiration for future generations. The secret pain revealed does not dim Shirley Temple's glory. On the contrary, it makes her image more authentic and profound than ever. We remember America's child prodigy, not just for her radiant smile and exquisite dancing, but also admire the courage of a woman who overcame trauma to forge a meaningful life. Her story is a powerful alarm bell about the cost of fame for children and the importance of protecting the innocence and the right to natural development of every child. Shirley Temple is not just a Hollywood icon, but also a vivid testament to the human capacity for healing and rebirth. The legacy she leaves behind is not just classic films, but also a deep humanitarian message about compassion, understanding, and society's responsibility towards tender young souls. What are your thoughts on Shirley Temple's eventful life? What moment or aspect of her story touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss other fascinating and inspiring stories about historical figures and untold secrets.